And Justin jumping, smiling with his arms outstretched in joy. And just this day he returned to Gough Street as saintly as ever now, bumbling down the sidewalk. He brings some tapes of Ezra, and I recall that brain and the beacon of eagle's eye wrinkled in stone. That sculptured old man, alone with his muse, clarity of light years fixed in the ill-focused glory of the unfit and unbroken. Pound is still alive, you say. He's 82. Then you run around the corner, your hair bouncing up and down, the pawnbroker of all unredeemed problems of the worst of all possible worlds. And I recall your gentle ways when many lives were crossed upon and set in mind of thee. And the young burst forth untended. Some blaze a trail, you know, and many spawned by poets now ride to the scene in promoters' long limousine. And the long-haired boys run past the house down to the Avalon. Sadness in soul at the door. They hasten in the evening, an exploding span of life. They run past the door, their rock and roll boots more run over than before. I knew the rain before you knew the sun, I shout. Sadness in the kitchen and the lights down the hall. Just a nut that blows their mind returns to sadness and the moan of the cat and polished silver. The back door by the tumbling stairs where Neil returned not long ago. Elephants, when ready, go to their burial place, where Betty and Frank slept off cold alcoholic nightmares, a slim thread of home to them all. Maggie's wash now flaps between the tree and dark lawn. Clouds crash, eclipse high above the jeweled ships of the world where a suburban housewife's orange peels went insane among the coffee grounds and bones. Sailors of unrest let the torch of amber crawl upon the door. Pieces of life on that shady sea feed back to files in eternity. I curse under my breath when the young run past the door, their legs too far in front of them and not much magic in their hearts. A cantankerous judge of men, Alan said. The ponds in the park are stagnant now, filled with discarded anonymity. And when I think of poets, I will not roar at lions in cages, for that's a coward's act. And the platinum hair falls in a great lace of fog. Things are at a drag in, Glenn said, and looked longingly at an old purse. Whether words take shape or whether there is something to say under the sun, that insecurity of logic is what poetry is all about. Every 7 years the cells start anew, and at 33 I learned that silver shined. Sometimes rain sounds like steps in the doorway. Sometimes I feel youthful again and search madly for poetry. It was birthday 1968. In London, Pam and I meeting William Burroughs for the first time. In London, in a very neat and sensible flat, lives one true genius of contemporary American prose. More like a poet, he veers and speaks both naturally and subliminally. Or more like a medium, he chats pleasantly from a space apart, or from a chamber of spirits disguised in an everyday world. A tall man, slightly stooped from the weight of all the combinations and formulas of all the possible plots. Mr. Burroughs rises and leans against the window ledge. Could have been a St. Louis merchant or a farmer about to speculate on the weather. Those birds, he said, gesturing out the window to a flock that caught his fancy. In the morning they fly one way, and in the evening they fly back the other way. And with that, he reached for his hat, and we went to the pub for brandy. And then on to Paris, which, what's that French word that, who was the guy that fled? President Louis? Yeah. What was that word he called the shit in the beds for the kids?
Les shit dans le lit.
Well, that's the word. The plumbing do said. It's translated the shit in the beds. In Paris, the black and red flags fly from the Sorbonne. In Paris, the workers and the students unite, and I look for a president of world revolution. Find out the communists are bourgeois pigs, and General de Gaulle told the people that the
She only
would get them. Cut out and let them flounder in a political vacuum until they would burn their own cars and cry for a leader. His warped experience in Southern CRS superior to the slingshots of cerebral students while communists played with the Frenchmen. Charges began at 2:00 a.m., the delicate shops intact. By lunchtime, the stones are in place in the streets and the cars hauled off, gas in the air, and the Frenchman has his lunch. If you want to miss the revolt, go to bed early and wake up at noon. Outside the cupola, the sweet bums are kissing a la Genet, the active ones anyway, not the own gross formless huddled against the wall. The skin draped as if pinched off a rotten soft peach, and in the cupola, the very rich and the very young and the very beautiful boys and girls caught slumming talk all night of how they wrecked their cars and how many speeding tickets they have got. And properly surrounded by their artisans and dogs, they buy their stage and leave. A newspaper reads, "Bye bye, Bobby," and all about gun-crazed America. Late in the night, the cafe was cleared with police and tear gas on the outside. Stranded with a journalist, I took a napkin to wrap around my face and camped. Can you imagine an American in this situation without a gun? And then, one evening before the delicate French moon trailed above the balconies of filigree dripping pools of silver and sky through black shadowed trees, Pam walked on bricks of childhood streets. The next day, we lit a candle for Kennedy in Notre Dame in front of a statue with a serpent at its feet. That's why I never learned French. Every time I'd say a word, they'd correct me, no matter how well I said it. What do you think?
More!
Not too much.
Okay.
A little more!
More.
At the big Pink's house, all that is subtle hides behind the brain, the eyes and ears and song beyond the homemade lake where moon floats. And I tell them it's the water and trees and earth. What's happening, man? With the rock. Presented sealed doors, secrets for the impatient rebirth, strange regeneration, young and triumphant. When scotch on the table takes hold, coming from the city and from the hills, Pittsburgh, Amarillo, packed a lunch, drove a Hudson Hornet, a girl on the cliff, pleased and richly satisfied. Girls in the kitchen talk of dancing, boys in the living room talk of music. A dormitory Aristophanes and Aristotle would envy. Okay, now. One quick one. At a gas station in Kansas, the branch and stream of law entwines, lost rails to the stars and back again, while the dandelion sits on a weed, joyous supernal, it sits on a weed. A long ride over forgotten roads, crisp kilowatts of radio, alone in the night, tracks of vortex planes erased by gentle snow, like upon the magic board I drew in school. Before the radar screen longed for blind events, like towns alone in night of frost, while snow and wind streaks across the pavement, showing sudden ghosts of fabled lizards. Oh, gypsy moth around my lampshade, why so dim the light beyond the door, and the twisted trees reaching to the sky, and down again into their own ring of years. In a month, the moon repeats its fundamental note. Involuntary stomachs drift to Venus. She repeats hers, and within the newborn, yet another aspect opens. Hungry wolves know the beginning of snow. Home to unwind the mummy roll by roll. A part of me, an edge I cannot peer beyond, a hidden angle, a side I cannot see. In the corner, the spider weaves haphazardly, forgetting the first part of the spiral, tired perhaps as a trembling fly in a forgotten filling station in Kansas.
Woo!
Well, here's unfortunately it's kind of long, and it ends in the motel in Elko, Nevada. We used to go across the tracks, and there's a great big hotel there that the Basques own, and they put bread and wine on the table before you even order. It ends in, anyway. Yeah, it's part of it is for the Barry Farrell, a friend that used to, and a friend of my girlfriend's, used to write in Life magazine, when there were magazines. Star tattoo dying on the Daco Ganges. Star tattoo shining on 1 billion cars tonight. Metal monster gone mad. Polluted man upon a concrete slab, carried to a grave on a cement slab. Stupid man, so close to destruction, not yet divine, strangled by tax. Dream of life in his shoulders, waiting at the stoplight. Beneath my window, lost in the fumes. Man of metal mind, kept in misery, kept waiting at the stoplight beneath my window. Man with burdened limbs, not wanting but metal with God. People with metal bodies, metal with a heart, with no heart. Metal wash it. Savior of metal, self-bondage, chief power. Rich man's dole, little man's pride. The little men against themselves in turmoil and ignorance and slavery, trespassing on the big man's world. Man's territory still fought for, as in the animal's world. Make the little man fight, make the little man hate, make the little man kill. Art and Yahoo and Nahu and Netanyahu and throw off your burqa jerka. How many how many humanities nominees? How many in your cronies? Anyway, that was just inserted on. Oh, little man, give up your misery. Throw off your bondage in the heat of day. Surround your misery for something more perfect under the plastic sun burning on the streets. Will you rise before this festival, when the visionary holds his mind against the circus tent he alone can see, when his guides his insight along the darkest threads of night, tincture of spirit in the dance of skin? Do you remember the dance under the medicine ball? We danced, did rituals naked by the fire, all orgastic longing fulfilled beneath the moons. Humans in the meadow on the way to the stage. In Hollywood, Woodstock now, the mushroom of the 40s dropped behind the scene. Hail, gypsy moth antenna. Hail, great Rambo Arabian night. Hail, country of spirit, mind, and immense of the universe. Hail, American meadow of mystic impulse. Will you arise from the day-glow Ganges, the slime of festival abandoned, stolen from life? Inherit the memories silently choking radio over the states, playing to sad fraternity boys, the sharp young men who commanded the future, now in command of the past, aware of the present, are all news melting in linotype lead? And will the ladies who push Watchtower magazine think the kingdom is at hand? They who have witnessed Jehovah must now witness Woodstock. And at dawn they journeyed to the festival of Bethel, and at evening they arose and left back to the cities of greed and gravel. Who will trap a piece of this action? Suck up the profit, buy off the masses, make electric vision a sanction, replace the feeling in the body that moves in the numbers larger than the armies of ancient seem bivouacked on the horizon. Flashes of alchemy in the pilgrimage numbered more than armies of old. They have suffered the downtrodden. They have felt the policeman's stick. They have seen the eyes of old patriots with no place to go but the street. Otherwise they trespass on master's soil. They have seen puppets placed in high places. They have been ordered to leave their assemblies or be made into criminals. But the right of free speech is as strong as the Constitution, and the freedom to gather is guaranteed. And if not, democracy will die. Puppets in the cherished position of state who put their own boys in power and now have their own police in the name of democracy. So true a lesson in any grade B movie. The likes of you and me, sailor, are just ballast. Words recalled by my father on the high seas long ago. Hired assassins in games of government. And the men on the dock say the Pope is fruit, and the mob owns the company. And the men respect each other because they demanded their piece of the pie. On Charles Street in Baltimore, a black couple handed us a pass to hear Dizzy Gillespie wrote in my notebook, a blue rose room of Arabian Nights, costumes of silk, gold watches and gold labels on whiskey and gold women, a Sunday afternoon in concert like long ago when things were smooth and groovy. And in sweet memory again, I hear King Pleasure jumping with my friend Sid from the city, Dakota Staten singing When Sunny Gets Blue, Baltimore Oriole, I say, lapsing into memory. Or if I want chop suey, I go to St. Louis. I don't know why. I'd like to recall the 50s, would like to feel the emotions of the 40s, perhaps in a love affair in the 30s, Paris in the 20s, or kicks in the 60s. If one can afford to go to Elko, and that's in Nevada, of course, check in a motel and turn on the tube, channel 8 at 3 o'clock, image extended in space above the lone wolf cry, transmission, God. There's a great tower of the prairie, stalking the nerves of a desert cat, space parent, beautiful children, at the rebirth of the burning man destroying the sand, and slowly the words, where does it end? Soft background music. Range fire today, rainfall in inches, wind direction, wind velocity, barometric pressure, just on time, the relative humidity, time, TV, pics, Incorporated, Elko, Nevada, and on around again, same thing all day. Okay, save some memory space for that last decade of LSD, hands, vegetables. Joseph Haydn, Joan Baez, Roy Orbison, Neil Cassidy, hurrah for space, and Madam B collecting the orators of the 60s, and the tradition of Sylvia Beach in the 20s. Hope this good omen is hidden in history, that the eagle has landed in tranquility at the vast restaurant across the tracks. This was in Montreal with Bill Burroughs and James Grouse. I think Ann Wallman was there too. Blues that day in Montreal, giving up the French cuisine and the course of a possible lay for the ride on a Greyhound bus comprised computerized check through the customs and a rest stop of the diner, spaghetti. The title of this is A Pint of Booze and a John B. Stetson Hat. I think that's a Jimmy Rogers song. Je suis gazé. Do you understand? Je suis gazé?
Huh?
Je suis gazé.
Gazé?
Yeah, you're supposed to speak French in Montreal. Local expression in Montreal meaning I'm fed up.
Oh, okay.
Improper vernacular, kind of touchy about the accent. And what about the content? Much better that they be chanted to by the old poetry guru, wanting to tell the folks what's good for them, in a kind of academic replay, more sympathetic toward the elite than the zero possibility of the same old trouble in mind. Back to New York, huh, Charlie? Bill said. Only thing to say, reminded me of the workers on the pipeline out west when someone disgruntled worker got fed up with the boss and company. The term was drag up for this abrupt severance of employment. Where's old Charlie? He dug up the other day. Went back to, you fill in the blanks. I got way down blue inside that day, drove west of Albany toward a stretch of valley and high hills, like in the western states that scarred their sunset many times before. At the edge of the canyon, bottle at my feet, the footprint. Back home, the cold mountain air still hangs on, and I slip into my long johns and put on my stereo earphones. In that flight suit, I lie in a foam rubber cockpit, put on a record of Hank Williams blues, confessed to a tune I didn't want to hear, and didn't know where memory's magnetized needle would take the full moon burning outside my window. Maybe a slight reading of biorhythms would produce a flight pattern into that milkweed sleeve, the crimson sunset lined against the space where I could not aim my gliding flocks of memory. I want to get in the ones for Brannaman, which is on that LP that Bloodshot Bill sang in Montreal. And he wrote a good thing that have in there old hippies, Scoob Up De Doo, and he said that preceded Snoop Dogg by 40 years. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, here's a quick one of Truck Stop Joe. I used to know he had a boat in Sausalito. Truck Stop Joe. Do you know Truck Stop Joe dropped his load in KCMO? Oh, Truck Stop Joe longs for his boat in Sausalito. Truck Stop Joe twitches across America in the back of a truck. By the time he gets to Marin, He really wants to find a girl who wants to go, but they just show him their bellies and read the tarot. Yeah, okay. Where there's two Albany's, it's excuse me while I try to find it. Oh, yeah, I can write rap too. Bad Veronica left her poetry in a bag in the corner of the laundromat, jumped in her car and headed down the block. Her poems stolen by a pack rat saved her bra, one sock, and her only pair of panties with a face on the crotch. She was late for her gig and was ready to dig, stomach in a knot, forgot her pot, but the content, like the events of the establishment, meant to vent on her incident. Her voice is her identification of New Age incense. She burned in reverence. She had to play straight and could not hesitate to elaborate and cooperate, to celebrate with her mates like Dangerous Dan and the rest of the band. Bad Veronica can't wait to fly in a blue blaze craze under the tie-dyed sky. Down in the old school, the band began with Dangerous Dan, fan of Escalade, who understand the hand that demand the contraband and the big damn lie, like the salt on last year's asphalt, on the road to the mall last fall and all. Bad Veronica jumped on the bar stool, drank to get cool, rocked with one sock, still in the laundromat with her new poems and panties with a face on them. Shepherdess of excess, wearer of wantonness, sorceress of fruitfulness, forgetfulness, left her underwear on the table in the corner of the laundromat. The kids are always talking about raps. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, right. Okay, was Poe Afraid? It's on one of those records with Mike Watt. I read at Fishtown, but I also read it with Hunky and Brimser at the Cross Street Bar in Baltimore. On these same brick streets of Baltimore tonight, was Poe afraid? Afraid of the fluorescent eyes of dogs, the raven's reflections, the rats scat through sawdust in Holland's market, the smell of rot and burlap thick as fur, afraid of roaches, disease, of poverty, loud poverty, boombox crackle, crack whip, poor ponies pulling carts full of greens up Green Street, overloaded with greed, afraid of the thick sky over foggy tavern door on cross streets clouded, shaped rummage, crimson cloak threading from the hill down to the curling dark water bay, afraid of the statues with iron capes flowing in formal rapture and cast hollow spirit looking down cold upon those animated walking and talking past old doorways, afraid of the wine, the drugs, the vault of alcoholic shoreline's ragged fault, floating in a dream grave, afraid to yell, sitting smug disciples repeating visions of hell. The whirl of a wash, a tangled thread, sets an alarm that turns to dread, makes a vision flow instead to the creation and how such a grace is fed. Life is a poor host, grabbing guests who came, swirling great pleated sheets, wrapping the stars, leaving streaming party coils to their last cars, some on twilight's slightly twisted cane. This one was, this was on record in Berlin, going back to Wichita and Rebop to Bebop Blues. But I'll conclude with the one for Neil Cassidy and the one for Brannaman that's on that record there.
Hey,
What?
your
What?
cards on
I
the.
don't care. Water cooler, portrait, John Dixon. Okay. Here we go. Neil. Oh, really, really Neil. His first love was the automobile. Drove a 34 Ford with suicide doors and a stick shift on the floor. Dragging down Main Street to Colfax Avenue, jumping in the backseat Boulevard, kicked back, watching asses in the rear view, cruising past the high school, clock on the dash reading 10:18, put past the neon diner, last stop for Benzedrine, and onward to another scene. Chick would rob a joint just to buy him food, one hand on the wheel, the other in her mood. The blue-eyed kid and the cold-eyed Bobby Sox of California surfers, tarot card sharks, and word shooters. Found Anne Marie in Frisco Bay like a hurricane cock, didn't have to need the Sexual Freedom League, driving with white pills and pot, but was really addicted to the wheel. Came back to old San Francisco, flowered children all over the street, carried starstruck Anne Marie in his arms. The Denver kid, he never returns, traded her Chevrolet coupe for an old Pontiac. Up the hills, down the curves, gear it down, pump the brakes. Old Mother Ginsburg, backseat driving, turning towards the Avalon, drinking a couple of liters, walking down Van Ness, jumping parking meters. One hand on the gear shift, the other copying a feel. One hand up a dress, the other on a wheel. Stole a car in Denver just to hear it peel. Just like driving in the races. Stolen car in Denver just to hear it peel. He moved so fast, he had one foot in Cincinnati, the other in Kalamazoo. Women know just what to do. All wanted him to be true. Parked in front of Gulf Street in a 50s red and white Plymouth Fury. Just back from seeing Kerouac. In a hurry. Patrol car in the mirror, the old white and blacks. Drove past someone with little white pills heading into town. He jumped in the driver's seat and spun that Fury around. The roads were paved with powder all the way to Mexico, and train tracks shined in the moon. First road warrior, what he did wrong, he never knew. And then one for, it's on that other record, for Brannaman, and I think that'll be it. Here's a short one. Get your tickets now! Guess how many human variables here tonight? Throw a quasi-ergot curve in space and win a hot water bottle. Hit the perpendicular harmonic oscillators with a plasmatic hammer. Win a rational connection to an irrelevant difference with a dark. Win a date with Zeta, the breakaway gene. Ride the survival machine through spirals, passing the origins. Find the hot wire of neutral circuitry with all the seashells and galaxies you can carry to the end of time. Win Roy Acuff's Great Speckled Bird.
Yeah.
Here's one fun one, and then I'll find the Brannaman one. Dalai's Lama, weapon skills, high security lie, Olympics in China, live, flee, or die. Demigod Dick, CEO, Jingo Lingo, thieves, penetrate, inch thick midnight, awesome symmetry, make out faces, digital values, last year's graffiti, scrap shop window, flowers form a line, sexual battery days, make out forces, get fat for robots, second chaos, muzzle flash, poke police, shift squad city, cosmic go-kart, kick all suspects, Pimp in the Porch Light, Women of the Street, Ballerina Feet, Dick Parade, Bush Golf Cart, Big Fat Backers, Mankind on the Land. Avoid the weasel. Avoid the weasel, said Pythagoras. Yeah, I'm trying to find the one for Brannaman. And then that'll conclude it. It's on that record too. What the hell is it called?
It's called Rapid Run.
Rapid Ronnie. No, I'll try to sing again. Rapid Ronnie.
Should be towards the end.
That's what I thought. Crackheads and CEOs, I ain't dead. Dolly's mama. Yeah.
200.
200?
200.
Thank you.
Somebody was the index.
Yeah, I never learned how to use the thing. Because it always leads from through. Lifelong friend. He just passed not long ago. He was 90.
Yeah.
90 something, so. And he was a Benny head in Wichita, so benzodine must have helped. Yeah, something was. And he was, he moved to California, and oh yeah, here's some notes here. Married Sue Mack, the debutante of Los Angeles, with Mack Truck Company. And that's important because they use a bulldog in a hood ornament in the poem. And he was intimate to Billy Yarmog at the Batman Gallery. Billy went back to Afghanistan and got on junk and shot himself accidentally, I guess, playing with guns over there. And he lived on the streets in San Francisco in a 52 Chevy at one point. And let's see, his grandson's supposed to be here tonight? Bob Brannaman's grandson? Where are you? Stand up. Okay. Okay, well, you know the history behind it. Now, he's in the opening scene of the Doors movie, right? On Venice Beach, hawking his paintings. That's right, eh? Have you seen the Doors movie?
I didn't see that scene, but I believe it.
No, it's the first scene. He's on Venice Beach, has all his paintings. And they used his paintings throughout the movie. Rapid Ronnie Ratback Jive, Kansas, 1955. Doc Moonlight bought a brand new T-Bird from writing scripts. Amphetamines drove fast, hard bodies over the high steps. 50 years ago, his daddy bought a mare in Dodge City. Wyatt Earp's grandson now sells new cars in Wichita. Life on the high plains, borrowed on a pile of loans. I drove, Ronnie handed me pound-selected poems. Outside Zip's Club, we smoked and pissed. Inside, Pack Rat picked his bass in bliss. His eyes rolled back in close fret. Scoobop to do, de-bip, bip, from hep to hip to hop, beady-bop. Next set. Like cat cartoon characters boing back, swinging man on an astrological star, his nose inhalers packed behind the bar, candy wrappers, cosmos and benzodrine, dragnet, luncheonette, make a scene, play it straight, if fate says best, really bad, half sad, oh, fey, oh, say, shuffle on down and slide away from the mass, want to smizzle, to jizzle, and to grizzle. Rapid Ronnie Rasmussen ran amok, thief, pimp, artist, hood, alias Barbital Bob stood under the neon of Zip's Club. His subterranean bellhop boyhood forays met Kansas' big intersection wild mores. By the light of the stained glass windows, he sketched pictures between the shows. Illuminated in gold-faced, fading stories, He saw his dreams fly specked with glory. He stuffed his pockets with dope and dates of whores while he gazed too far beyond the gaily painted doors. Rapid running rides the moonlight high, pack rats, cough pills, and played melodic, drank oxybiotic that made him neurotic. Jimmy Mammy, just out of the joint, heard Big End was going to steal Doc's Thunderbird. Ronnie went along, reciting Pound's verse, riding the terrible crossroads of the universe. Big End let out a yell of centuries of pain, drove into the Bulldog's tractor-trailer lane. Jimmy Mammy broke his jaw and lay in years of highs. Ronnie grew old in secret under California skies. Big End lay dead, his eyes confused, staring at the heaven forever wider than his moon's new earth that refused him shelter from the great white spider. Thank you all for coming far and away. It's amazing.